Okay, today's video is on auction buys, and as you guys know, we're pretty close to the army here where they have their Thaguna auctions through Pickles quite regularly. Bought a lot of test equipment over the years from them, bought a lot of junk, a lot of good stuff. Emphasis on the junk because you got to be a bit careful. This gear you cannot go and inspect it anymore. Since COVID, there's no reason we shouldn't be able to, but since COVID, no, they've decided that you buy it, which I think they're getting lesser money for it. If we could inspect it and we find a real good one, as you'll see when I go through this, there's good and bad ones. But what you've got to do when you're buying, especially this sort of stuff, you're taking a big chance on the screen. The screen on this is pretty good, but have a look at it. Error 26, real clock problem. There's a reason why I buy two of everything. When I'm buying at auction, you'll see me. You'll see my often you'll see, especially with Pickles, it'll come up with an ID number. Excuse me. But what gives it away is Tangambalanga. It's like it gives you suburb. So most people know when I'm bidding for something. Anyway, but I do recommend. Look, I don't need to buy a hell of a lot more for myself, to be very honest. So I do recommend you keep an eye on the Pickles auctions for test equipment, because even though this looks a little bit beaten up and, etc., probably doesn't look the best. This one's actually a lot cleaner down the bottom, believe it or not. I haven't got to that one yet. But look at the last calibration date, in 15th of May 20. Doesn't mean it hasn't got a problem, absolutely. This one, just to be 100% honest, I found a 5 amp fuse in the back that was dead on it. So they decided that was all too hard. Put the 5 amp fuse back in it, not a new one that is, and actually I put a 3 amp back in because I had a quick look at the information, and I thought it looked 3 to me. Anyway, it didn't matter, it fired up on a 3, so I put a 3 back in. Actually, it's a two-sided fuse, so you've got both sides of the mains with fuse, so I put two 3s back in there. Anyway, give you an idea. So this is straight, look, I'm in the kitchen. When I do these ones in the kitchen with the coffee, tea, bonox, etc., and I sometimes do them in here because I'm out of room in other places, but I love the view. Absolutely love the view. Even though there's rubbish out there. Look at that one-man tower sitting down there. You can just spot it between the trees there. There's a few more sections sitting in Tasmania. Coming to pick those up soon. Okay, anyway, this is an IFR 2031. Now, if you don't recognise it as the IFR 2031, because you would have seen it as the Marconi 2031, and of course the companies combined, etc., bought out, something like that. 10 kilohertz through to 2.7 gig. You often see me complain that I've got nothing to test 1.2 gigs on, and I actually did a video on a 910 recently, and I thought, you know what, I really, I've been doing it in some really crap ways to test the receive works, i.e. using another radio with 1.2 but not calibrated. So what we wanted was something that was calibrated, that we could sort of say, all right, well, there we go. Now, let me turn the volume up on this because I've sort of preset this up a bit. So we've got a signal coming through off this, calibrated signal. I was just playing around with the tone there, FM deviation and tone. RF levels here, so I can obviously play with that RF level in microvolts. As I'm coming down, we'll start to drop in a second. We'll start to get to that sort of more noisy. See, it's starting to get noisy there. It's not bad, 0.3 of a microvolt on narrow FM. Just starting to get a bit noisy there. Still hearing the tone quite okay. And just breaking this squelch there. So let's see how much hysteresis there is. Quite a bit. So yeah, that's 0.2 of a microvolt of hysteresis there on the that's on the unit, and was it a BC79? I just grabbed this off the shelf, to be honest. I wanted something quick just to chuck on there. But I mean, turn that down. There you go. This is a really high-tech piece of equipment. You can't buy this under a couple of grand anywhere. You'd probably, by the time you ship one into Australia, I remember when I was looking at them, couple of grand. So I'm going to give you a full disclosure on this one. What the hell? I've probably got two working ones here, but I'm going to tell you the exact costs. of what these cost me, because you need to understand why I buy two, because I need one working one, but I need one reliable working one for as long as I'm on the planet. Let's hope that's longer than, Anyway, so why I buy the second one is because this can be completely working, but I've had a lot of experience with IFR, and one thing I know is you can never have enough backups. I've got a good mate of mine that runs the IFR repair workshop, and he actually has bought a bit of gear from me where I have not had the time to get to. When I say I've not had the time to get to, that means I didn't have the brains to fix it. He did. That one had a VCO issue, UHF VCO, I think, or something. I can't remember now. It was one of the modules that I just couldn't be bothered getting to. Sent it down to Bob 7RX for a while. Excuse me, that was an IFR 500, and ended up saying to Bob, listen, you know what, mate? He was busy, he was moving, and lots of things were happening. And I said, look, send it back, but actually send it over to my mate. And he he got that one, and I think got to sort that all out. Anyway, but I do like IFR equipment. I don't want it to sound like I'm sledging IFR, because there's some really crap stuff out there, much worse than IFR. Did that come out right? There is some stuff that's very problematic, it's not just Marconi IFR. I mean, obviously the old Marconi 2955s, had their problems. The 2965 had, and 66 actually had some really nasty problems. That's where my other 2965 that I couldn't work out the input problem on, that went down to my mate at IFR. He would have had that fixed in no time at all. He would have seen that fault 1,000 times. I just thought, you know what, I knew I was heading towards that new IFR that I wanted, and I thought, bugger it, send that down to him. And you might say, why didn't you just get him to repair it and then fix it? To be honest, the economy of movement in that is not great. Now, that's something I want to just cover. If you're going to start buying this sort of equipment here, you don't need to be 100% technician level. I worked at IFR, I worked at Motorola, I worked at blah, blah, blah. But you do need to be able to be careful of some high voltages, number one. And number two, you do need to efficiently be able to change some modules around and troubleshoot at a module level to make sure that you can, interchange bits. So this real-time clock problem that we've got up here, I will probably send my mate a quick mail first. And well, I probably won't even do that. I'll probably actually Google Error 26 real-time clock problem first. And, if it turns out it's an interchangeable module out of this one, bang, we'll bring it on over. You might say, okay, Brenton, but, does that mean you've got a calibrated piece of test equipment? No, it doesn't. No, I need to send it down to him, get it completely calibrated then. But then you've got to ask yourself, what do I use this gear for, and what necessity, what level of calibration do I need to do the sort of testing I'm doing? And without sounding too rude, close enough is good enough. If I can get, 0.3, 0.2, and then, as we heard with this, and we hear, I reckon that's dead on accurate. Scorch probably won't work because this will be in some sort of... weren't they crazy, these trunk trackers? There was a way to put them into manual mode. If anyone remembers how to get this into manual and, just pump in I haven't got this... haven't got the manual for it out here with me. It's probably sitting in the workshop somewhere. But they were always a little bit tricky. Great for trunk tracking and, blah, blah, blah. But anyway. So, yeah. So nice, that I reckon that's close enough. Because... as far as I'm concerned, as long as this thing can hear at 0.5 of a microvolt, I'm wrapped, absolutely wrapped, because I can test frequencies that, obviously are way, way above what I can on my 0 to 999 meg machine, and, certainly do heaps more. What's the FM on and off? Well, that's pretty obvious, isn't it? Okay, it turns FM off, which means it turns that off. Fair enough. Let's put some signal back. I'm wondering, when I do that, does it actually lose the signal too? Is it turning FM? No, it's just the resolution. So what's it turning into? Oh, God knows. Does it put it into AM or? You're not going to hear it AM, are you? Okay. Anyway, the other thing too is download a manual, which I haven't done yet. I've got a brief. It's someone else's summary of one of these. Well, I bought it actually, because. When you've got to test something a little bit higher in frequency, that's outside of your, your monitor range off your analyzer, you don't really need to go out and buy something that's, 5 gig capable, receive transmit, unless you're going to be actually, needing to test transmitters at, say, 2.4 gigs, etc. You just need a cheap, something that gets up to, well, for me, up to 2.4 gig was fine. So, this gives me an ability to inject into, just about anything that I'm ever going to see. And it gives me a few spare parts. So, it just gives you the idea. Now, I was actually going to try something else. I just don't know whether I can do it with this. It's not my expertise with this. It's my expertise with this, believe it or not. Just give me a second. I'll have a quick look. And I got sidetracked. Sorry, I just realised I was about to go off and show you something else, but this was the big reveal. I get very sidetracked these days. I'm terrible. Sorry. Now the reveal. Let's say you can't buy one of these for, a couple of grand sent to you from Greece or from Israel or from bloody the US or wherever, And look, there's some really good equipment that doesn't suffer transport very well. My biggest fear when I'm sort of buying, and I've bought a lot from the US, I got to tell you, and yeah, there's some stories. Even Bob will tell you some of those. 7RX, some of the stories of HP 8920 and 24 screens. And anyway, we've both got stories to tell. But if you can get the stuff locally and you can get the parts locally, so working parts. I don't even know if this works yet. Probably does. I don't know. Better not say this didn't. So to be fair, this didn't. So I'm going to give you the cost now. And I remember exactly what I did. This was the cruddy looking one, and it's really just dirt and, just needs a good clean. Look at this, it's coming off. So with a good clean, this is going to come up looking good. A little bit of a scratch. Is that scratch there? Or is that just crap? No, that's definitely a scratch there. But you can see by the bottom one is a lot cleaner. I'll get up a bit closer. It's just a better front panel, much easier to work with, and really good chance you'll get that right. Was there paint on there or something? No, it's taken a scratch. So it has had a scratch there. So that one's sort of survived that better. Now we're talking about taking bits of panels, which you can't do. But so let me tell you how I went bidding. I put a top bid of $551 on this. The reasoning was because it looked so clean compared to there was only two available this time. And I put a bid of $551 on this one here. So that was my top bid. So that means that basically, if the bids are sitting at $300 at the time, unless someone bids against me, I'll get them for $300. So independently, these can sell for two very different prices, depending on people's, a little bit like me, how I also spotted, when I bought this one and when I said $551 for this, and I was thinking that, by the way, I was going to have to up those bids. I'll tell you a little story in a second, but this one I was thinking I'm going to have to up this bid to probably $1,000, or something like $1,001 just to try and get it. This one that was cruddy, I sort of thought, look, if I don't get it, I'd love the spares, but if I don't get it, don't really care. Well, it turns out that, this one sold for $440 plus a few auction fees, so I don't know, under $500. This one sold for $550, so my $551 just made it. So people had to bid against me, and they came awfully close, and we just got there on this one. And funny enough, now when I'm looking at the two units, and as I said, I haven't turned this one on yet, haven't done anything with it, don't really care, because I'll tell you why. Because I know I've got a front panel that's good on both, and once I clean this up, this will look all right. This here will look fine, apart from that little scratch there that I probably, Anyway, I think that, we've got a lot of modules inside these. So the goal was, and I came pretty close to my goal was to buy the two for around about $1,000, and then make sure that I've got one working and a lot of spare parts for it, knowing that when I go to sell one day, I've still got a lot of spare parts to sell with it, but I've also got a unit that's, that's worth a couple of grand. So, and seriously, in Australia, you'll get that for it. For 10 kilohertz to 2.7 2031, I've actually missed a few in Australia that have been working condition. I think the last one I saw was about $2,400 inside Australia, and they sell well. They really do. So this is the strategy I want to leave with you, is that when you're buying at these auctions, certainly don't pay anything close to what you think they're worth on eBay. This would be a big mistake. The last bit of test equipment I bought for around $4,000, on eBay, you can't buy under probably $8,000 right now, over in the US, delivered to your door. But that's not indicative of the Australian market at all. You won't get $8,000 for that piece I've just bought for $4,000. You'll get $4,000. Seriously, I paid pretty much what I think it'd get. Tops. This is a little bit different. When you're buying from auction, you can actually, if you're very clever, gain some advantages and make sure that you've also built in some longevity for yourself by having some spares if you do get into trouble. That's my big theory, is never buy one, buy two, but pay a quarter of the sort of price on eBay. So the goal is, by the time you win the two, if you're lucky enough to win the two like we did with this, you've paid $1,000 knowing that you've got a $2,000 piece of equipment with a lot of parts. Look, this is typical of me. I will go and move things around, covers, etc., fronts. I will want one perfect looking unit. I'm not sure I'm going to get perfect out of these without spraying these covers. They're a little bit sort of covers, I don't mind saying, a little bit abused, but here you go. You can see all the stickers and stuff that come from the auctions and that. But I will get a very clean unit that my other piece of IFR equipment will fit perfectly. It's the same size, same forms factor size on top of it. And let's say I didn't know anything about technical stuff, and you walked to my workshop and you saw this unit here with the new 2945, is it? I can't remember the number, B or something like that, with the other screen above it, and it all looks like it all matches together. You're going to assume I know what I'm doing. I may not, but I've got some bloody good test equipment to try and convince you. So, which in my case, maybe that's true. Anyway, okay, look, I'm just going to try one last thing. I may end up cutting this video short because I've got someone coming here in a sec to pick up an IC7000. I want to just run him through a few things. But I'll just try and see if I can quickly do something, which will be changing the freak on this, but I may run out of time. No, I'm sitting here with the wrong machine. I just can't remember. I was having a quick play, but I'm going to run out of time. I was going to try and show you up at 1.2 gig, etc. But suffice to say, very easy to get around these things. I'll just turn the volume down on that. I'll turn it off, actually, might as well. But carrier frequency, pretty much, initially you've got that. You've got, you can move up, as you can see here, change all the times by range. Now, if I want to go quickly up to, 1.2 gigs, there is a faster way, which is called 1200 point, bang, 1.2 gigs, you're up there, 1200 megs, of course. But yeah, look, I think you get the idea, just without going into too much detail, over and over again. Buy smart out of these auctions. Don't pay too much. I have bought some absolute crap from auctions, trust me. And we tell you the good stories, trust me. There's some bad stories. A bit like cars, isn't it? You sort of always talk about the one you made a profit on. You always forget to tell people about the one that absolutely murdered you. Anyway, good luck. If you've got any questions, you can always email me at brenton@posnap.com.au. A lot of the test equipment that comes up there, I do know fairly intimately from just experience. Doesn't mean I've used it all, but I've certainly used the 2031 here a bit before. A few years ago, though, probably 10 years ago. Geez, the last time I used one of these was probably in the US on a bench over there. Yeah, no, it's longer, it's probably 12 years. 2008, 2009. It was that great financial time. That's why I remember, actually. Anyway, everybody had so much money. Everyone was losing their houses, and over there, it's just shocking. Anyway, all right, 73's to you. Thanks for having a quick look at this video. I hope it sort of gives you an idea, at least, one, how to buy, a decent bit of test equipment. By the way, this screen, even though you're seeing those lines going through it on the video, there is nothing. I don't know how to get a better. I did read that thing about shutter speed, but I don't know how to change it on the video on this thing. Anyway, but thank you for that person that sent me that, because that was sort of interesting. Yeah, but no, that screen is solid, not even having a problem. So, but as you can see, very easy to run around, very easy to change your RF levels, deviation. You can put external sources into it, etc. Select source. Oh, there you go. Yeah, well, there you go. See, yeah, right. Okay, so for CT, CSS, etc., look, a lot of different things that you can do. Now, I've got generators that will actually feed into this, then feed back out from my old days. But the truth, you don't use them much these days. You really don't. So anyway, but yeah, look, I could just keep going with all these. You'll just keep on sort of going through different. My cats are going mad here. I haven't really gone into the sweep functions actually, but there are a few other functions this thing will do. You might also notice reverse power 50 watts max. Try not to transmit into these things too much, please. That's another little sort of problem area. No, that's not going to show any of that because I'm in that mode. Sorry, go back to single gen. But look, great machines. They really are. if you could pick one up for, say it ends up owing you $1,000 and you've got all the spares, no, grab it, absolutely, because it just becomes one of those things you don't use every day, but you do really, really, love the fact you've got it when you've got to test something over, 1 gig. And by the way, sorry, if you don't own a high class, 29 or whatever, sort of all bells and whistles machine, and you've just got something that's a bit more sort of low key, well, this definitely is a great addition for you. Say you've got an old thumb wheel job that's very, very sort of, a bit annoying. This is a nice addition. Anyway, all right. Thanks very much. Gone 20 minutes. I wanted to do 12. Talk too much. Talk way too much. Anyway, thanks very much, guys. 73s, VK3CM, Tangambalanga, where the sun is shining and the dam has got water in it, too much water at the moment. And see on the sort of just to the right of the middle there, that's the first section of the one-man tower. That's and then all those other sections sitting over there. That'll go up very soon. Just a little bit dry weather. That's all we need. 73s, guys. Cheers.